Hello, everybody. Welcome into GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Wednesday, March 25th. We have a lot to get into. The MLB season first pitch in America is tomorrow. We're going to go over everything you're going to need to know for the baseball season at each and every single division with records for each and every team, who's going to make the playoffs, what each playoff series will look like, and what to expect heading into this year's MLB season. But before we get into any of that, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Wednesday, March 25th. But like I was saying, we are going to get into step one of our all-day MLB coverage, starting off with the East divisions. These two divisions are some of the best divisions in all of baseball. We're going to start off with the NL East, and it is an absolute bloodbath at the top. You've got the Braves, the Phillies, and the Mets up there, all three of whom made the playoffs last year, all three of whom are expected to win over 90 games by Vegas. If you look at the over-unders, they're numbers 2, 3, and 4 in all of baseball. These three teams are dangerous. But we're going to start off at the bottom here. The Marlins, unsurprisingly, I think to anybody, are the worst team in this division. They've got a couple of pieces coming up from the minors that potentially could be something. They're getting another healthy season out of Sandy Alcantara. At least that's expected, although I do think Alcantara will be moved at the deadline as they continue to try and get out of this rebuild phase that they've been stuck in for a very long time. This season's not going to go well for them, and I think this is another year where they lose over 100 games. I think they go 58-104, end up losing the division, 5th place in the NL East. A little bit ahead of them, but not quite in that tier to compete for the playoffs yet, is the Washington Nationals. The Washington Nationals are a very intriguing team this season. They're a team that is packed with young talent. We talk about guys that are making their opening day debuts in Dylan Cruz and James Wood, as well as a lot of other young talent. They made a move at first base, bringing in Nathaniel Lowe. This is a Nationals team that is better than last year, but it's still not quite ready to compete in the playoffs. They're going to win about 75 games, which is over that 72.5 mark that Vegas has them set at. I like this Nats team. Maybe that's a little bit of fan bias in me. I like what they're starting to build, especially on the pitching staff, and if their young talent can step up this year, this is a team that, while they're not going to make the playoffs, could be a little more dangerous than people think. Third place in this division, we have the New York Mets. The Mets went on a run last season. They made it all the way to the NLCS, where they fell to the Dodgers. Eventually, the Dodgers go out and win the World Series there. Their over-under this year is set at 90, and with good reason. They have gone out, and they have continued to build on a team that made it to the NLCS last year. The Mets went out, and they brought in Juan Soto. They spent over $1 billion on that roster this offseason. Now they pair Francisco Lindor with Juan Soto. Pete Alonso returns here. That is a pretty deadly top three. The rest of the lineup, not too bad itself, but the big issue for them is pitching, starting pitching especially. Clay Holmes, Taylor McGill, Griffin Canning, David Peterson, and Kodai Senga currently, by Fangraphs metrics, are expected to be the starter. A lot of that's because they already have four starting pitchers, I should say, on the injured list. Paul Blackburn, Sean Manaea, Frankie Montas, and Christian Scott, all on that injured list. They're all hurt right now. That is a tough spot to be, especially at a position of weakness like starting pitching is for the Mets. If they're able to figure out starting pitching, that bullpen's great. You've still got Edwin Diaz and AJ Minter, who they brought in. This is a good Mets team, but I just don't quite see them, because of that starting pitching, being able to compete with the top two teams in the division enough to go and surpass them in the Phillies and the Braves. At number 2 in the NL East, I'm going with those Philadelphia Phillies. We already know all about their lineup, right? You've got Schwarber, you've got Trey Turner, you've got Bryce Harper, you've got JT Realmuto, Nick Castellanos, Bryson Stott, Alec Boehm, all of these guys. This is an incredibly stacked lineup, one that can hit a home run basically any given at bat. But the real strength of this team is in the starting pitching. You've got Zach Wheeler, you've got Aaron Nola, you've got Jesus Luzardo, who they traded for, Christopher Sanchez, Taijuan Walker coming out in case of injury. Same thing with Joe Ross. Ranger Suarez dealing with some injuries right now, some back tightness. He should be back fine pretty soon, but you have 6-7 solid starting pitchers on this team to go with that really good lineup. I think this team wins 90 games, second place in the division, only because the Braves are back and healthy. We have a healthy Spencer Strider. You're going to get Ronald Acuna back within about a month of the season starting. You're adding him when he comes back to a defense, especially an outfield of Jurickson Profar and Michael Harris. Put in Ronald Acuna there. You've got a really solid infield in the corners, Austin Riley and Matt Olson. You've got Ozzie Albies at second base and Orlando Arcia at shortstop. This is an elite team top to bottom. Chris Sale, the reigning NL Cy Young winner. You're going to get back Spencer Strider soon. That one is huge. You add on top of that Reynaldo Lopez and Spencer Schwellenbach, AJ Smith-Scheuer, and Grant Holmes, all of these guys that can come in and do a really good job for your team. But this is a Braves team that, as long as they stay healthy, which hasn't really been the best so far. We're dealing with a couple injuries, including catcher Sean Murphy, and that one's going to hurt a little bit. But at the end of the day, it can't be as bad as last season, and this is a team that, if they're healthy, is on paper one of the most dangerous teams in all of baseball. So the NL East, I've got the Marlins at 5, 58-104, the Nats at 4, 75-87, the Mets at 3, 86-76, and the Phillies at 2, 90-72, and the Braves at 97-65, winning the division. On the AL side of things, this division is going to be messy. We saw the Orioles and Yankees fighting all season last year for the top spot. I think both of them got worse. Of course, the Yankees lose Juan Soto. The Orioles lose Corbin Burns, two of the best in the game at their respective jobs. That's going to hurt a lot. And at the end of the day, I don't think either of them make a case to win this division. Now, there are a lot of good teams in this division. 1 to 5, Blue Jays, Rays, Yankees, Orioles, Red Sox, all of them I expect to be very good this season, but it's going to be very tough to see for how many are going to make the playoffs. We're going to start off at number 5. The Blue Jays, I love the moves. It's an old team with a lot of old pitchers. You've got Max Scherzer coming in to be a starting pitcher along with Jose Barrios. This is not necessarily a Toronto team that is built for the long term. You have Anthony Santander, the big free agent that they bring in. Vlad Guerrero is on a contract year, so you need to figure something out with him. Bo Bichette's been struggling in recent seasons. They need him to step it back up. I like the trades they made. Andres Jimenez, extending Alejandro Kirk. There's some good stuff here, but again, you're relying a lot on some old arms. Max Scherzer, the oldest one in there at 40 years old. You've got Chris Bassett at 36, Kevin Gausman at 34, Jose Barrios at 30, and Bowden Francis at 28, who's the only one sub 30 there, but still, that's a really, really old pitching staff. The bullpen, really not much younger. You're relying on Jeff Hoffman, a 32-year-old closer, Chad Green, 33, Yimi Garcia at 34, to be your back-end guys. It hurts a little bit. And because of that, I just don't have a lot of faith in this team. 75 wins, 5th place in that division. Number 4 was tough. I decided to put the New York Yankees here at the 4th place spot in their division, and I know that sounds kind of crazy, right? Because the Yankees made the World Series last year. The Yankees almost won the World Series. They took the Dodgers to 5 games, but they were the AL pennant winner. They have the reigning AL MVP in Aaron Judge, but they lost his protection. Juan Soto is gone, and I'm not saying that Aaron Judge isn't going to be able to hit without him, because He set a AL record for home runs without Juan Soto, won an MVP without him a couple years ago in a similar situation where he didn't have a lot of protection. But the real concern for the Yankees is the injury spot, right? This is something that has been kind of an issue for them for a little while now, especially with an aging core. Not only are you missing your number one pitcher to Tommy John, one of the best pitchers in the league in Garrett Cole, but you're also now missing one of your most dangerous batters in the entire league in your lineup, Giancarlo Stanton, also probably out for the season. This is just not good. Luis Heel, Clark Schmidt dealing with injuries. This is just not a team that is starting off the season right. And it's a bad look for them because they really, really need to come back. They lost a lot of key talent in the offseason, especially Juan Soto. They bring in Cody Bellinger, Paul Goldschmidt to kind of replace him in the aggregate a little bit, but it's just not quite going to be enough, and I don't like the way that this Yankees team is going, and the injuries already starting to tear it apart. I just don't quite believe in this Yankees team. They're fourth place in this division at 80 and 82. Third place in this division, I'm going to give to the Baltimore Orioles. The Baltimore Orioles, a very good squad, but their biggest weakness, and a weakness that they didn't really address this offseason, is with the pitching staff. They lose Corbin Burnes, and this is a team that had the bats to do it. Their offense was hitting like nobody's business all the way up until the near end of that season. You've still got a lot of that base there. Colton Cowser, Adley Rutschman, Jordan Westberg, Ryan Mountcastle, Cedric Mullins, Jackson Holliday. You're gonna be able to get Gunnar Henderson back when he gets healthy soon. But the pitching, they just did not deal with, right? They had their biggest weakness, which was pitching. They traded for Zach Eflin, and now he's going to be number one. You're also relying on a 41-year-old Charlie Morton. This is just not the way to go. They lose one of the best pitchers in the league, and they aren't aggressive enough in the pitcher market to go out get even a guy like a Jack Flaherty. Instead, now they're relying on Cade Povich and Tamayuki Sugano out of Japan, who they brought in this year at 35 years old. Dean Kramer, not really what you want to rely on for a team that has playoff hopes. I just don't trust this team. Injuries also killing them. Grayson Rodriguez already going down with injuries. Kyle Bradish, Taylor Wells, Trevor Rogers, Chase McDermott. This is just not the way that you expected it to go if you're the Orioles. And again, injuries are going to be an issue, especially when it comes to the guys on the mound. I think they fall to third place. At number 2, I've got the Tampa Bay Rays. The Tampa Bay Rays are going to be playing in a minor league stadium, but I love this Rays team. The Rays always seem to find their way to great pitching, but the one thing that I think is going to be really big for them is they're going to get a full season of Junior Caminero. Junior Caminero, one of the top prospects in all of baseball. He graduated last season, but he is a special talent at third base. They've got a lot of young guys coming up. Johnny DeLuca, just over a year of service time. Jonathan Aranda, just over a year of service time. Josh Lau, who's got 2 years of service time, and of course Junior Caminero, who has less than 0.1, less than 10% of a year played, just 0.05 of service time right now. This is a huge moment for this Rays team, and I absolutely love what they're doing offensively. Again, the pitching, always going to be there. You have a little bit of hesitation from me because of the injury suffered once again to Shane McClanahan. That is something that they need to have. They can't have McClanahan continuing to go down. It sucks that he's down for a little bit here. They're going to get Ha-Seong Kim back to add to that lineup. They brought him in from the Padres. I love what he's going to be able to do when he slides in to that shortstop position, most likely. This is a Rays team that, as long as they can just survive the injuries that continue to plague them, their pitching is going to do enough. And I think they've got a real shot of making some noise in the AL. I've got them at second, 84 and 78. And that, of course, leads to our number 1 team here, the Boston Red Sox. The Boston Red Sox have had an amazing offseason. Not only do they land a massive fish trading for probably the best pitcher available, a true ace, trading from the White Sox yet again in Garrett Crochet to add to an already stacked pitching staff filled with Tyler Houck, sign Walker Buehler's, Richard Fitz, Sean Newcomb they bring in, as well as having Brian Bayo, Cutting Crawford, Lucas Giolito, Chris Murphy, Patrick Sandoval. Although a lot of those guys are injured, they should be back soon. Just shoulder soreness and knee soreness, strained hamstring for Bayo, Crawford, and Giolito, respectively. Sandoval and Chris Murphy, a little bit longer-term stuff. But if you get Bayo, Crawford, and Giolito back into that starting pitching rotation, you now have a rotation of Crochet, Houck, Buehler, Giolito, Bayo, and Cutter Crawford. That is an incredible six-man rotation, not to mention what they did on the offensive side of the ball, bringing in a guy like Alex Bregman. Alex Bregman, I think was born to hit at Fenway Park. He loves to hit it against that left field wall, and having that green monster there, short field, it's just got to be tall. He's going to have the most doubles you have ever seen, maybe long singles you've ever seen. Him playing third base is going to immediately help that defense as long as Rafael Devers is okay with playing DH. They're going to bring in Kirsten Campbell to play second base, the rookie. He's going to have a good year. He's done a really good job at camp, and I love the talent offensively. Jarren Duran, Rafi Devers, Alex Bregman, Trenton Cassis, Trevor Story, Kirsten Campbell, Weiler Abreu, Connor Wong. These are all really great. This is a really great team. I don't see a lot of weaknesses with this team. I love this Red Sox squad. I think they win 90 games, and I think they win the AL East. So overall for you, we have the Blue Jays at number 5, the Yankees at number 4, the Orioles at number 3, and the Rays at number 2, and the Red Sox at number 1. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the AL or the NL numbers right now. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we turn our attention over to the Central divisions. We broke down the AL East and the NL East. This time, we take a look at the NL Central and the AL Central. That's coming up next here on GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Welcome back to GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Wednesday, March 25th, if you were just tuning in. We just finished going over the Eastern divisions, the AL and NL East here, as the MLB season in America first pitch is tomorrow. In this segment, we turn our attention to the Central Division. Same thing. We're going to break down 1 through 5, the AL and NL Central coming up in a second. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Wednesday, March 26th. But like I was saying, we are going to get into a little bit on the central divisions in the MLB. If you're just tuning in, we just went over the Eastern divisions. We're going to start off in the NL Central here. And start off at number 5 here. It's going to be the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals come into this year over-under at a respectable 76.5 games, but I think the Cardinals completely collapsed this year. This is a Cardinals team that got older and did not do anything at all this offseason. We want to talk about additions. Their one and only free agent addition, at least on the major league side of things, was to bring in 32-year-old Phil Maton to the bullpen. A 1-year contract, and that happened just about 2 weeks ago. 13 days ago, Phil Maton was signed to a 1-year contract. That's the only major league move that they have made all offseason long. The St. Louis Cardinals have sat here, twiddled their thumbs, and done nothing. They acquired a utility guy in Michael Hellman from the Twins for cash. That's the only other thing they've done. There's been a couple minor league moves, but at the end of the day, they have done next to nothing to increase this roster, a roster that has now lost one of their top hitters, a guy that won MVP a couple years ago in Paul Goldschmidt, a top relief pitcher in Andrew Kittredge, Matt Carpenter, an aging veteran for this team, also gone, as well as losing Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson, in a whole league of other guys. This is just a mess of a team. And this team, sure, it's got a couple pieces. It's still got, one of the best third basemen in the game when we're talking defensively in Nolan Arenado, but he's 33 years old, and there's been rumors of him getting traded. Wilson Contreras has moved to first base from catcher. I mean, sure, that's fine, but I'm not sure he's a guy, how much that's going to help defensively. And that's what a lot of the Cardinals teams were built on in the past. Lars Nootbaar leading off, he will be just fine. And I like that Jordan Walker is going to get a real chance for the first time ever, but he's been moved up and down so many times. I don't even know what's real for him right now. There just isn't a lot to like on this Cardinals team, especially when we go down to this pitching staff. Sonny Gray, Eric Fetty, Miles Mikolas, Matthew Liberate. These are not the guys that you want heading into the year. And there hasn't even been too many injuries. Right now you just have one relief pitcher on injured list, and that is Zach Thompson. But the bullpen doesn't even look that great either. You've got Ryan Helsley, solid to be your closer. Then you've got Jojo Romero, Ryan Fernandez, Phil Maton. None of these guys really strike me as elite, as like a huge difference maker for this squad, and because of that, I think we see the implosion of the St. Louis Cardinals. I think they lose 100 games this year, 5th place in the division. Number 4, we've got the Pittsburgh Pirates. Paul Skeens' takeover is here. He is about to go out and have an amazing year, but the Pirates, they didn't get much better. They made a lot of moves, don't get me wrong, but they were a lot of lateral moves. They didn't go out and make any earth-shattering moves that I think is really going to change a lot of things. The lineup just doesn't really inspire me. Because of that, despite how good the pitching is going to be, despite having one of the best duos in the league, pitching duos in Paul Skeens and Mitch Keller, it's just not enough behind them. And I think this team is destined to be below what they're expected. 4th place in their division, 74-88. At number 3, I've got the Brewers. The Brewers are projected to win 83 games this year. They won their division last year, and the Brewers always seem to find a way to be competitive, but I just don't really see the vision with this year's Brewers team. And maybe that's just because I'm not as tapped in to the Brewers as I should be, but the Brewers are a team that need some big bats, right? They've still got Christian Yelich, but he hasn't really been the same since coming back from injuries. Jackson Chourio had a pretty solid season. William Contreras, a catcher, solid. You've got, but outside of those guys, Garrett Mitchell, Rhys Hoskins, Joey Ortiz, Sal Frelick. This isn't a lineup that jumps out to you on paper and is really going to be super scary, right? You've got a rotation, usually the strength of this team, that actually according to Fangraphs, only goes 4 deep right now. Freddie Peralta, Nestor Cortez, Aaron Savali, and Tyler Alexander. That is not good enough, right? Trevor McGill as your closer, when you're going from Hader to Devin Williams to Trevor McGill, there's going to be a little bit of a fall off there. This is just not the way you wanted it to go. You're dealing with a lot of injuries. Aaron Ashby, Brendan Woodruff should be back soon, hopefully. But this is just not a team that I think is built to succeed this season. I think this is the year that we see a Brewers collapse, and a collapse for them is just 500. I've got them going 500, finishing third in their division. I've got the Cubs second in this NL Central, going 83-79. Over-under for them was set at 85.5 games. The Chicago Cubs, I've liked the moves they've made, actually. Pitching staff kind of gets really thin. You've got Shota Imanaga, but outside of him, once you get down past him, there isn't really a lot of guys that I really love. Justin Steele already got absolutely destroyed. Matthew Boyd, Ben Brown, Jameson Tyone, none of these guys really step up or shout to me that they're going to be able to carry this team to where it needs to be. We've seen them lose 2 games already, granted to the Dodgers in Japan, but still, I'd like to see a little bit more out of this team, especially offensively, where they were barely able to muster anything. I need to see more. I just don't trust the pitching again, and I've got them going 83-79, second place in that division, which means the Cincinnati Reds finally put it all together, and I think they get this division. It's been a little while coming now. They've got a lot of really young talent I expect to be healthy. Matt McClain's going to be back. That's going to be huge. Spencer Steer, Heimer Candelario's still there. Of course, you still have Ellie De La Cruz, electric everywhere he goes. This is a team that is filled with young talent, especially if they can stay healthy. The pitchers. You already had Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo, but you trade for Brady Singer. I love that move. You have got Nick Martinez and Carson Spears. These are solid moves. Now, the bullpen, that's a mess. Right now, if you look at where it's listed, Fangraphs has 5 catchers. Five closers listed for them. Emilio Pagan, Taylor Rogers, Tony Santillan, Scott Barlow, and Graham Ashcraft, all listed as closers for this team. So the bullpen's going to be something that they need to figure out. But I do really like this team. They're dealing with some injuries again, but as long as they can stay healthy, which they've struggled to do, especially with the pitching staff in the last couple years, I expect them to win this division at a respectable 86-76. Reds 1, Cubs 2, Brewers 3, Pirates 4, Cardinals 5. On to the AL Central. The White Sox at the bottom yet again. There is a league of difference between this White Sox team and everybody else in this division. The White Sox lost a league record, an MLB record, 121 games last season. And while I think they'll be better this season because it's real tough to set that infamous record 2 years in a row, I'm not convinced they're going to be that much better. This is a White Sox team that I think will be fighting with themselves for that record again. Right now, you're looking at a lineup consisting of Miguel Vargas, Luis Robert Jr. Outside of him, you've got really nothing. Andrew Benintendi, Andrew Vaughn, Lennon Sosa, Travis Jankowski, Michael A. Taylor, Brooks Baldwin, and Corey Lee, with a bench consisted of Matt Tice, Jacob Amaya, Nick Matan, and Austin Slater. None of these guys are really going to be that great. Your pitching rotation, one that had, a couple of solid guys last season despite their results. Now it's headlined by Sean Burke, Jonathan Cannon, Davis Martin, Martin Perez, and Shane Smith. This team is going to get absolutely blown up. The bullpen is the same as the starting pitching. It's just not here right now. This is a mess. I think this team will find a way to win more games than they did last season, but it's not going to be by a lot. I think the White Sox win just 43 games, finish 43-119, last place in the league, last place in the Central. I think the Tigers, a team that made the playoffs last year, finished 4th. I like this Tigers team a lot. I think this is a Tigers team that can be very dangerous, but we kind of saw the issue with them last season. They don't have that starting pitching depth. Showed up in the playoffs, even though they were able to win a game. They get back pitcher that they traded away. but I just don't really see how that matters all that much, right? Jack Flaherty's great. Tariq Skubal is the AL reigning Cy Young winner. Reese Olson is solid. Outside of them, you bring in Jackson Jobe. I'm excited to see what he can do, but I don't know. I'm not super sold on this team again. They've got a couple issues. You're relying on Spencer Torkelson. It's his real last chance. And the guys that they brought in on offense, Gleyber Torres, Manuel Margot, none of these guys really scream a huge upgrade. They took a very hot run into the playoffs last year. I'm just not convinced they're going to be able to do it again. 80-82 for the Tigers this year. I think the Guardians made a lot of mistakes this offseason. 83-79 for them, and third place in this division is what I expect out of them this year. They've still got a lot of solid pieces, but they traded away a couple guys that they did not quite replace. The Cleveland Guardians still have Steven Kwan. They still have Jose Ramirez. They bring back Carlos Santana. They still have Lane Thomas, but they moved off of Naylor, right? They traded Naylor away. That is a tough loss. They don't really have a guy to come in and replace him other than 40-year-old Carlos Santana, right? You're playing Lane Thomas in center field. I don't like that. I like Lane Thomas as a corner outfielder, not really as your starting center fielder. You trade away a really good second baseman, one of the best, especially defensively, in Jimenez, for Gabriel Reyes to step up and play that role. I just don't like that either. I don't love the way that they've moved around this offseason, and that rotation just doesn't inspire confidence in me, especially when you're dealing without John Means and Shane Bieber, Slade Cassione, all coming in. I'm not a big fan of this, and because of that, I've got the Guardians finishing third place in their division. Getting to second, we've got the Kansas City Royals. The Kansas City Royals are a very similar offseason to the Reds. The Royals had flush talent at pitching. They kind of struggled a little bit in the hitting side. They still had one of the best players in Bobby Witt Jr., but they need a little more help. They trade Jonathan India for Brady Singer, but that's fine because they still have Cole Reagans. They still have Seth Lugo and Michael Wacha, Chris Bubich, and Michael Lorenzen. This is a very, very good team. They've also got Kyle Wright, who's injured right now. But this is a team that doesn't necessarily need that. I love the addition of Carlos Estevez from the Phillies. They pair him up with Lucas Urseg. That's going to be one of the deadliest 1-2 punches in all of baseball at that back end of that bullpen. And of course, you've still got Bobby Witt. You've still got Salvi Perez. You've still got a lot of solid bats. I really do love what they've done adding in Jonathan India. I think this is a team that is going to continue with what they did last season. I actually think they have the exact same record as last season at 86-76 and second place in their division. And at number one, that leaves the Twins. Now, this is, of course, very much dependent on them being healthy, which is something that you don't want to put all your chips into here. We're already dealing with some injuries to one of their best pieces, right? They still need Royce Lewis. He is incredible when he's healthy, but he's already strained his hamstring. That was a couple days ago. They need him back. They're counting on a lot of really injury-prone guys. Royce, we just talked about him in Royce Lewis, but you've also got Byron Buxton, who's incredibly talented when he can stay on the field, but he's not a guy that's been proven to be able to stay on the field. You've got Carlos Correa, you've got Jose Miranda, Ryan Jeffers, Will Castro, Ty France in another attempt for him, Edward Julian. These guys, they've got solid everywhere. You look at that rotation, Pablo Lopez, I love him as an ace. Joe Ryan and Bailey Ober behind him. This is a solid team. It's not going to move mountains, but if they can stay healthy, I think this is a Twins team that can take it a lot further than people think. I think they win this division at 87-75. So breakdown for you real quick. The White Sox 5th, Tigers 4th, Guardians 3rd, Royals 2nd, and the Twins 1st. I'd love to hear your thoughts on any of the AL or NL Central divisions. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we turn our attention over to the Western divisions. The AL and NL West preview coming up next here on GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now. Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Welcome back to GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Wednesday, March 26th, if you are just tuning in. We just finished going over the East AL and NL, the Central AL and NL divisions, predicting each and every record for each team and the order they'll finish in their division. In this segment, we take that treatment, take it to the West Coast, the Western divisions in the NL and AL for baseball. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Wednesday, March 26th. But like I was saying, we are going to get into our next segment here, that having to do with the Western divisions. And this is going to be a doozy. We'll start off in the NL West, one of the most stacked divisions in all of baseball this year. Starting off at a team not super stacked, the Colorado Rockies. The Rockies were the worst team in their division last year. And if you expect them not to be the worst team in their division this year, I think you're crazy. This is a Rockies team that did not do enough when it comes to making improvements this year for their team. They bring in Scott Alexander, Thairo Estrada to the major league roster, as well as Kyle Farmar. They just lose a little bit too much. Cal Quantrill, Brendan Rodgers. They lose Daniel Bard, Charlie Blackmon, Jake Cave, Dakota Hudson, Peter Lambert. All of these guys, it's just not good, right? They make a trade with the Guardians, move off of Nolan Jones in exchange, get Tyler Freeman and Owen Miller. This is a team that there just isn't too much great to say about them. Their owner's been cheap. They don't play in a ballpark conducive to pitching, so pitchers aren't going to come here. I mean, a pitching staff headlined by Kyle Freeland and German Marquez, it's not one that you really want to write home about. Unfortunately, it's the reality for the Rockies. I expect them to struggle again this year. 60-102 is my record prediction for them. The Giants are fourth here. They are going to be solid. They're an average baseball team. I like a lot of what they've done, but I just don't think there's enough to compete with the top dogs in this division. The top three are all going to be very good, and I think the Giants just fall short of that, and that tier below them, 500, 81, and 81. At number 3, we take a big step up here. The Padres win 90 games. Last year, you can argue that they were the best team in the NL. They took the Dodgers to the brink. Unfortunately, the Dodgers were able to come back against them. This is a really talented Padres team. This San Diego Padres team only got better, right? We're talking about a lineup. They still have Luis Arias, Fernando Tatis, Jackson Merrill, Manny Machado, Jake Cronenworth, Xander Bogaerts. They add Gavin Sheets and Jason Hayward. Still have Elias Diaz. This is a really solid roster. And when you get to the pitching, there's not another weakness there. You've got Michael King that you got in the Juan Soto trade. Dylan Cease, who you traded for in the last offseason. Some rumors around him, but he is an incredible pitcher to have on the roster. Nick Pivetta. You've still got Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove, as well as Matt Waldron when they all come back, although they're all dealing with injuries right now, so that's a little bit of a downer there. But this is a really, really good Padres squad. There's not a lot of weaknesses all around. You've still got a great back-end bullpen with Robert Suarez and Jason Adams. Even though you do lose a couple pieces, this is a Padres team that I think will be able to compete with the best of them. They win 90 games and are just third place in their division. At second place, I've got this Diamondback squad. I love what the Diamondbacks did. They bring in Corbin Burnes. You want to talk about a 1-2 punch. You've got Corbin Burnes and Zach Gallen right there, but that's not it, right? This is an Arizona Diamondbacks team that goes about six deep when it comes to starting pitching. Of course, you've got Burnes and Gallen like we talked about, but you've got Merrill Kelly as well that made the American team a couple years ago in the World Baseball Classic. Brandon Pfaadt, who pitched really big innings in the playoffs. You've got Eduardo Rodriguez as well as Ryan Nelson, who can come in and start some games for them. You've got a really talented you've got Jordan Montgomery, who's on the injured list right now, who theoretically would be on the team. He got Tommy John surgery. He won't be there this season, but this is still a really solid team. Great bullpen, and the batting, the hitters on this team are going to be great as well. Corbin Carroll and Ketel Marte up top. Josh Naylor, who you bring in a trade that I absolutely love. Eugenio Suarez, Jake McCarthy, Gabriel Moreno. This is just a stacked Diamondbacks team. I expect them to surprise some people. I've got them winning 95 games this season, second place in their division at 95-67. But of course, they're not number one, and that is because the Dodgers exist. The Los Angeles Dodgers are insane. They are a team that I think could fight for the best regular season record of all time. Right now it's held at 120 wins. I think they break that. I've got them winning 121 games this season. They've already started off hot, winning 2 games, but let's just look at this lineup. You've got Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, assuming that he's healthy and ready to go. He's been dealing with a pretty bad stomach bug where he hasn't really been able to eat solid food, so hopefully he's doing good. But we're going to pretend that he is, and we're going to go with the fact that he is healthy right now. Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Teoscar Hernandez, Max Muncy, Will Smith, Tommy Edman, Andy Pages, Michael Conforto. Then you get to the bench, Austin Barnes, Miguel Rojas, Chris Taylor, Kike Hernandez. This is a stacked team. This is maybe one of the best pitching staffs in all of baseball. Yoshi Yamamoto, Roki Sasaki, we saw them both pitch. Tyler Glasnow, Dustin May, Blake Snell, Shohei Ohtani. You're going to get Clayton Kershaw back as well. This is an amazing team. This is just no weaknesses anywhere. Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates, Blake Trinan, Alex Vezia, Anthony Banda, all the way down the order, all the way down the bullpen. There is not a single weak piece. There is a reason that people say that the Dodgers ruined baseball this offseason. They are amazing. I think they break the record. They have the best team in this division. Rockies 5, Giants 4, Padres 3, Diamondbacks 2, and Dodgers number 1. But getting to our final division here in baseball, we have the AL West. And this division, I think, is going to be really interesting, actually. The Angels, I don't think, have much of a shot. They're projected 71-ish games. I have them losing a lot more than that. They still have Mike Trout, but Mike Trout can only do so much when the rest of the team just isn't the best. This is a Los Angeles Angels team that currently is trotting out a headliner as Yusei Kikuchi on their number one starter. That's not what you want to hear. The bullpen, they've got Kenley Jansen, but he's not going to do too much to help them win games. Anthony Rendon already injured, most likely going to miss most of the season. And outside of Mike Trout, sure, you've got Taylor Ward, who's a nice piece, but there's no one else here that I think I really want to rely on, and I don't think this Angels team is going to be up to the task of being really good this year. I think they go 58-104. The Athletics, on the other hand, I really did like their offseason. The A's, I think, are going to be sneaky good this year. They moved to Sacramento, and sure, we're playing in a minor league ballpark, but they spent money for the first time in a long time. Lawrence Butler, Brent Rooker, J.J. Bleday, Shea Langoliers, Tyler Soderstrom, Gio Urshela, Seth Brown, Jacob Wilson, and Max Muncy. This is a really good lineup. It's not a great lineup, but it's a good one. They spent money where they needed to. They went and they got some pitchers. Luis Severino, they signed to the biggest contract they've ever given out. They trade for Jeffrey Springs as well as other pitchers to come in and help with the Rays. Osvaldo Bido, JP Sears, Joey Estes. This is a solid team. Nothing great, but they still have nothing elite, I should say, but they have an elite closer in Mason Miller. Jose Leclerc, Tyler Ferguson, solid setup guys. This is not a team that's going to blow your socks off, but this is a team that I think is going to be along the same timeline as the Washington Nationals, where they'll win about 75 games. I've got them winning 74. I like this A's team a lot. They're just not quite in that playoff or wild card tier yet. At number 3 in this division, though, I've got the Seattle Mariners. I would have loved to see the Seattle Mariners make a big move to get a bat, because this is a Mariners team that probably has the best pitching staff in all of the MLB. Logan Gilbert, Luis Castillo, Bryce Miller, Brian Wu, Emerson Hancock. This is an amazing starting 5. One of the best in all of baseball. You've got George Kirby dealing with some shoulder inflammation. He's going to be there as well when he gets healthy, and this team is just stacked. But what they struggled with last season is they didn't have bats. Victor Robles really stepped up for them last year, but he's not enough on his own. They've got Julio Rodriguez, who they need to play at an MVP level if they want to get back. They're going to add, they still got Randy Arozarena, who they brought in at the trade deadline. They're expecting a lot of things out of him, as well as Cal Riley, big dumper at catcher. But outside of those 4, there's not a lot of big bats. You're relying on Luke Raley, Jorge Polanco, Rowdy Tellez, Ryan Bliss, and J.P. Crawford to get you over the finish line. Sure, you've got a couple of other guys to rely on, but it's just not what you need. This is a team that had a weakness, and they didn't address it in the offseason, so I don't think that's going to be enough for them to win this division. But with that pitching staff, they can compete with just about anybody. At number 2, I've got the Astros, also winning 88 games. I think they've got the tiebreaker over the Mariners, though. This is a really interesting Astros team. I think they definitely got worse. I think this is an Astros team that absolutely got worse. They lose a lot of talent. Namely, they lose Alex Bregman. They also lose Justin Verlander, lose Jose Urquidy. They lose Yusei Kikuchi, who they gave up a lot for. They lose Hector Neris in the bullpen. They lose Kendall Graveman and Caleb Ferguson. They lose a lot of solid arms. Ryan Presley they trade away. This is just a team that, and as well as getting rid of Kyle Tucker, this is the team that lost a lot of talent. I don't really think they got it all back. This is an Astros team that had their worst finish in forever last season. You've still got Jose Altuve, who's potentially transitioning to left field to give Dubon a chance at second base. They trade away They trade away their left fielder over there to the Cubs, and because of that, they've got to get a little bit creative. This is a team that's going to rely on some young guys, especially young arms, to propel this team deep into the playoffs, and I just don't see it happening this year. I think they got a little bit worse, but I still think they'll be good. Astros second place. And at number 1, that leaves the Rangers. The Rangers are the best team in the AL West. I think they had a slump of a season last year. Obviously, they win the World Series just 2 seasons ago. Injuries and just about everything that could have gone wrong kind of went wrong for them. I think they're the best team in this division. I've got a good feeling about this team this year. Semien and Seager at the top. Wyatt Langford had a really good rookie season. You got Jock Peterson and Adolis Garcia, as well as Josh Young, and Jonah Heim, who they had in their World Series runs. Nathan Eovaldi, Jack Leiter, Tyler Mahle, Jacob deGrom, Kumar Rocker. He's going to get a shot finally in the MLB. If they can stay healthy, which, again, I know, big if, this is a team that I just don't see having a lot of competition in the AL West, and I think they win this division easily enough, 93-69. So again, that's Rangers 1, Astros 2, Mariners 3, Athletics 4, and Angels 5. I'd love to hear your thoughts on any of the MLB divisions we've gone over. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's playoff time. We're going to go over the NL and AL playoffs, predict each and every single position, as well as every single wild card, every single round result as we go through the MLB playoffs. We'll be right back here on GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Welcome back to GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Wednesday, March 26th. If you were just tuning in, we have just gone over each and every MLB division, the AL and NL sides for the East, West, and Central. In this segment, we take a look at the playoffs. It's inevitability at the end of every season, but who's going to make it and who's going to win the World Series? We answer that question in this segment here. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Wednesday, March 26th. But like I was saying, we are going to get into a little bit here on the playoffs predictions. There are a lot to go over, and we didn't touch on the playoffs when we were going over each and every division, but of course, the division winners get in first. So the division winners in the NL side was the Dodgers out of the NL West, going 121-41, locking up that number 1 overall seed, the best record in the history of Major League Baseball. At number 2, I've got the Braves winning the NL East at 97-65 in the NL. And the Reds, the 3rd seed, winning the NL Central at 86-76, which sets up a really interesting wild card race. The Diamondbacks had 95 wins. They get in. The Phillies at 90 wins and the Padres also at 90 wins get in, which leaves the Mets on the outside looking in. And I know that's a little weird for a team that made the NLCS last season, added Juan Soto to that, but the pitching staff just concerns me too much. I really like this Phillies team, and I think pitching wins championships. I like this Phillies and Padres pitching staff more. I like that Mets lineup a lot. I really do. Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, Pete Alonso is a deadly top 3, and you throw in a couple of other solid bats in there as well. But I just don't think the Mets, with the pitching, the starting pitching especially, already dealing with some injuries in an already weak unit, is going to have enough to make it into the playoffs this year. And I think they fall just a little short of their goal this year, the first one out at 86-76. This sets up an interesting wild card series. The Padres take on the Reds, and that's the 3-6 matchup, where I think the Padres are just better than the Reds here. The Reds get their first taste of playoff baseball with this young core led by Elly De La Cruz, but I think, again, pitching wins playoff series, and despite the Reds having some solid pitches there, I think the combination that the Padres have is just going to be too much, and they sweep 2-0 in the wild card series. As for the other one, the Diamondbacks take on the Phillies, and this one I do really think could go either way, but at the end of the day, that duo of Zach Gallen and Corbin Burns, I think, is going to be too much for the Phillies to handle, and I think the Diamondbacks escape with this one 2-1 to advance to the NLDS. The Diamondbacks would then take on the Braves in the NLDS, and again, a battle of just two really solid rosters. I think at the end of the day, the Braves take down this Diamondback squad. I like this Braves team a lot. They advance to the NLCS in a 5-game set. The Dodgers take on the Padres. Seems like they do this every single playoffs. I think it goes a lot same way as last year's, a lot the Padres with an early lead. But then the Dodgers come back and they win this series 3-1 behind Shohei Ohtani and that pitching staff. In the NLCS, we've got the Braves and the Dodgers, and this is an amazing series. You're not going to like it? You've got to go with the Dodgers there. The Dodgers are just the best team in baseball, potentially the best team in baseball history, and I just don't see a way that the Dodgers don't win the NL pennant this year. I think it goes 7 though. I think they make it close. The Dodgers, the representative out of the NL. It gets a lot more interesting in the AL. In the NL, there were only 2 teams based on my predictions, my preview, that missed the playoffs last year, that made it this year, the Reds and the Diamondbacks. For me, in the AL, it's 4 out of the 6 that are new to the playoffs this year. The division winners, first and foremost, we've got the Texas Rangers at number 1, the number 1 seed, a team that missed the playoffs last year after winning the World Series a year before that, go 93-69 and win the AL regular season pennant. The Red Sox right behind them at 90-72, get that number 2 seed in the AL, get that first bye along with the Rangers. The Twins, the number 3 seed at 87-75, are the last division winner. And then we get to the wild card race. This is a race that I think is going to be super tight. There's 5 or 6 teams that I think have a real shot, maybe even 7, of getting in here. At the end of the day, though, I think the Astros don't miss the playoffs. They might not make the AL Championship Series again, but I don't think they missed the playoffs this year. They're just too talented right now. They still have a lot of that core together. The Mariners with the pitching staff, I think, do enough to stay together at 88-75. They make the playoffs after missing last year. They're our 4th team. And then the Royals. I think the Royals at 86 and 76 do just enough to edge out the Rays, Guardians, and Orioles for that final wild card spot. The Rays 2 games back, Guardians 3, Orioles 4, and the Yankees 5 games back in my predictions here. But that spot could really go up in any direction, which sets up a wild card round of the Royals versus the Twins. I think the Royals do a lot like what they did against the Orioles last offseason when they faced the Twins. I think the pitching is going to be too much, and they win 2-1 in that wild card round, while the Mariners take care of business against the Astros, and they lose for the second year in a row in that wild card round 2-0. Setting up an ALDS where the Rangers take on the Royals. So the Royals, once again, fall short here, I think. I love this Rangers team. I love what they've been able to do, especially if they can have a healthy Jacob deGrom going into the playoffs. This team is going to be dangerous. I think they win 3-2. While on the other side of the bracket, the Red Sox defeat the Mariners in a 3-1 set. The offense for the Mariners is just going to be a brick wall that they run into at some point, and I think it catches up to them here in the ALDS, which sets up an ALCS of the Rangers versus the Red Sox. And I think the Rangers return to the World Series. I love this Rangers team. I like a lot what the Red Sox have done, but I think the Rangers make it back to the World Series where they face the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are just too good. The Dodgers win this World Series. They win the second World Series in a row, set up a dynasty, make people all cynical about the sport of baseball, heading into a very important CBA negotiation. Very curious how that'll affect things, but I have the Dodgers defeating the Rangers 4-1, just like last year in the World Series. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Who do you have winning the World Series? What do you have happening this season in baseball? What's your baseball hot take? I'd love to hear all of that and more. We're going to talk a lot more about baseball tomorrow. We, of course, have NBA Power Rankings, which we pushed back to tomorrow, not doing it today. We're going to talk MLB Power Rankings tomorrow as well, and anything else that happens from around the world of sports. You all have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to